Hey there, friends. The Movie Grader here. Ever heard of Anchor? Anchor gives you everything you may need in one place for free in order to make a podcast. It can be done right from your phone or computer. Anchor's creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great and it's ready for prime time. Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard wherever podcasts are available. Platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and even Google Podcasts. Also, you can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. To get started, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm.
If there's a movie, he's gonna rate it. He's gonna talk to his friends and they'll debate it. He's gonna try his best to not be a hater. His name is Billy the Movie Grader.
Hello, and welcome back to the Movie Grader and Friends podcast. I'm Billy, the Movie Grader, and in this episode, I am once again joined by my good friend Justin. Say hello, Justin.
What's good, guys?
In this episode, we will be discussing the newest movie in the Mike Banning action trilogy, Angel Has Fallen. In Angel Has Fallen, Secret Service agent Banning gets framed for the assassination of President Trumbull and must prove his innocence to the FBI and his own agency. Angel Has Fallen is directed by Rick Roman Waugh. It was released on August 23rd, 2019, and stars Gerard Butler, Morgan Freeman, and Danny Huston. Justin, what were some of your favorite scenes? The stuff you liked?
I mean, it's so numerous. I don't know exactly where to begin, but just to...
What about from the beginning?
No, that's what I was going to say. Just to begin, let's just start with the beginning.
The opening training sequence was cool.
The close quarters combat training, I thought I was actually watching the movie plot already developed and played out, and we were going in reverse or something this time.
I thought the whole thing was a flashback, too.
Let me also touch on the fact that I hadn't seen these movies when they came out in the theater, the first two, Olympus and London. Decided to crash course those.
Yeah, we marathoned it last night.
Before watching this today. Impressed, like to say the least.
They're not trash movies.
Being an action movie aficionado myself, having watched probably every great action franchise from time I was yay high, this vehicle's real. This Banning Olympus has whatever has fallen. At this point, it's whatever has fallen vehicle. It works.
Yeah.
And let me say it works from not just the gunplay, but the close quarters combat, the knife play, the martial arts. It is on point. Yeah. That's the only way I can describe it. It is on point. It is on point like a unicorn in cuniform. That's how on point it is. So that's what I gotta say on that. So it's on point, dude. It's on point.
I thought one of the coolest scenes in the movie was the opening drone attack. It, basically kicks off the whole movie, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. The drone attack, I wasn't expecting let me put it like this, without giving anything away, I wasn't expecting the drone technology to be what they employed for the drone attack alone. The way they used the drones, the way the drones played into the plot, the way that attack played into the plot. Again, on point. That's all I got to say.
These drones were they were different. I guess they were kind of similar. They reminded me of Mysterio's drones from Spider-Man Far From Home. Yeah. And they would shoot stuff up and blow stuff up, and they were pretty deadly. Yeah. And one other point we have to touch upon is and this kind of blankets the entire franchise basically, was the ingenuity of Banning's escapes and all of his fighting, I guess, prowess or abilities.
Exactly. Yeah. No, dude's sick. He's John McClane and every Steven Seagal character and every good action guy rolled into one, dude. Yeah. And just the ingenuity and the way I can't give stuff away. Yeah. But if you like action movies, if you know a little bit about combat and whatnot, the techniques that he uses are not only legit and on point, but a lot of times the techniques he uses, he's thinking out of the box. Oh yeah. And that's another thing that pushes this whole Mike Banning vehicle, because obviously Secret Service agents, anyone that gets recruited by that agency to be especially presidential protection detail,
you're among the elite.
You're among the elite of all the armed forces, all the special operators, and even all the DOD Black Ops personnel and NSA person. This guy's real. That's all I got. This guy's real. That's all I got to say.
He's real. He's dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's It's so fun to watch.
It is. It really is. It's actually it's a treat. And again, I crashed all 3 of them into less than a day, and it was fun. Let me just put it like that. Like, let me also say something too. And I want to touch on this again. Whether you look at Olympus Has Fallen, whether you look at London Has Fallen, or Angel Has Fallen, the action is consistent. It's thorough. It's legit. It's believable.
Yeah.
In pretty much every instance on all movies, right? But in this one, it was taken a little bit further because it wasn't the typical like the other 2 plots. President being attacked at White House or at said. This one was a little bit more all over the place.
Well, they still go after the president.
No, but not the fact that. But I'm saying just the fact that it wasn't localized to just one like geographic area. Like they touched on various. I get what you're saying. I mean the whole it was massive. It was an expansive plot.
It was global.
Yeah, exactly.
It deals with the Russians.
Yeah,
so
that too. Yeah, you can throw that in there.
It's kind of timely.
Yeah, it is actually. It's kind of timely in that point.
Like Olympus Has Fallen dealt with the North Koreans.
Yeah,
that was back in 2013.
Yeah, and then London Has Fallen dealt with all that all that Islamic terrorism that was happening in Britain. During
and London Has Fallen was back in 2016, so that was timely for them.
Timely for that too.
And now here we are in 2019 with Angel Has Fallen, and dealing with the Russians.
Exactly.
So the franchise has kind of kept up with the times.
Yep. Good point.
I'm not sure if it was intentional or.
I'm sure it's somewhat intentional.
Well,
but
yeah.
but even if it wasn't, it synced up well.
Nonetheless, it's highly entertaining, and I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah. Oh, great.
I mean, there was also some new characters in this one too. Like we're introduced to Banning's dad, who's played by Nick Nolte.
Killed it.
Yeah.
Great. Nah, actually, I for someone who loved Nick Nolte movies ever since 48 Hours.
Blue Chips.
Yeah, and Blue Chips. Take it even more recent and other stuff. Like we all know he's had his share of hard times lately.
Yeah.
But I mean, just to see him at this age playing this character and to see how him and Gerard Butler meshed.
He was perfect.
He was great. It was perfect.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell that Banning gets his skills somewhat from his father.
That too.
Because his father had skills as well.
Yeah, exactly.
His father's skills were a bit more old school than Banning's were. Yeah. But still, it was
worked nonetheless.
They worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of his ways kind of shocked Banning and left him kind of saying like, really?
Yeah.
After he did some things which we would not give away because it's fun, it's enjoyable.
Yeah. They had a good chemistry, them too.
Yeah, they worked really well together.
And this is a more minor point. Danny Huston, great.
Yeah.
As the villain. Although
one of the villains,
but although his plot was a little thin. Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm gonna touch on that right now. And this time, as great as it is, I guess we'll touch on that later.
Yeah,
but let me say one about other people that got introduced. I always loved Piper Perabo, ever since. Guys probably never saw the movie White Boys, but if you have seen White Boys or not, great movie. Also loved her in Coyote Ugly, and then loved her in Covert Affairs.
In this, she's recast as
the wife, and it's better because the last wife, it really had no reason being there. She didn't say anything. She didn't have any chemistry. At least Piper Perabo, you could tell,
You could tell that she cared more.
She cared more about the role, brought something else to it.
Flat out better actress.
Nicer on the eyes too. But whatever, that's less of a point. But I like the fact that you could tell that there was more of a family chemistry this time.
Yeah.
It felt a bit contrived with that other girl because she just didn't really seem to be.
She was just there. He just needed a wife.
More of an actress, bro. Yeah, so I think that's what it is. Yeah.
And one thing I thought was cool too, one of my favorite scenes was the whole semi-truck chase scene.
Clean.
Through
insane.
Through the mountains of was it West Virginia?
Appalachia.
Yeah, Appalachia.
Somewhere east of the mountains. Yeah.
The movie did have some funny scenes in there too. It did make you laugh.
Yeah, it did.
But for the most part, it is a pretty serious movie.
Definitely. And I'll say this on the serious tip: this one was more dramatic. Than other ones. Yeah, and I'll say that too.
Probably because the plot was a bit more plausible than the other ones.
Yeah.
Like in Olympus Has Fallen, what you were saying earlier when we were talking about it, that would never happen.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's seen the first 30 minutes of Olympus Has Fallen, but let me tell you, that would never happen in DC. I just know a thing or two about response and military and local forces, that would never happen.
It made for a fun movie.
Great movie, but London Has Fallen and this plot are way more plausible than Olympus Has Fallen.
Olympus Has Fallen, I must say, was the best movie out of the three.
It was the best, but it wasn't feasible. Plot was not that. That would never happen.
Well, yeah, it's like, now the stuff that could have been handled better, I thought, for Angel Has Fallen. There was no talk of President Asher, played by Aaron Eckhart.
My biggest gripe with the
not even a mention,
which doesn't make any sense because for the course of 2 separate crises, him and Mike Banning become like best friends.
Yeah,
like they're like family, obviously, and they don't even mention what happens after.
Even especially in London Has Fallen, President Asher goes along with him on the
journey.
He
starts becoming a killer
He's
himself.
A badass.
Badass himself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, shooting guns and reloading stuff and saving Mike Banning from stuff.
And all of a sudden, in Angel Has Fallen, not only is there no talk of President Asher, not even in one single line, they don't explain the timeline that has passed. How did he become president?
Yeah, I mean, you can deduce or whatever yourself, or come to the conclusion yourself that it's obviously a transfer in presidential regime.
Yeah.
Asher probably just was like, I had it anyway. So after I went through, I don't need to be president.
Yeah,
anymore.
like they don't.
And only 2 terms, obviously, but they don't touch on it.
They don't touch upon it. Like the only, I guess, sliver of a clue we're given is through his daughter,
who's older now.
Who could have been more than 4 or 3, I guess. Yeah. I mean, in London Has Fallen, it's a newborn.
Old. She was weeks old.
It's that was the only thing that was like.
I agree.
That left me like, what the hell? They didn't even bother to write him out of the script.
I agree.
They just said, screw it.
Yeah.
Another thing that could have been handled better was Jada Pinkett Smith's character. Just how she somehow coerces the FBI into thinking.
No, she coerces the Secret Service.
Secret Service and FBI.
Well, I mean, whatever. She was FBI.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So they're gonna believe her. But we'll go ahead. But I didn't mean.
Yeah. That Banning was somehow guilty. And it was.
And here's my gripe with that.
Yeah.
Over the course of 2 crises.
Yeah.
Banning single-handedly, literally saved the president's behind, and averted like major, grave national security threats. This guy doesn't have any cred behind him. He doesn't have any I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
So somehow Jada Pinkett Smith comes in, FBI hotshot investigator girl. Already has FBI believing he's got all these bad things about him, and he's not a good person, and he's this shady character who might have attempted to assassinate the president. But his own Secret Service colleagues?
Yeah.
Nobody had his back? No one believes him?
It was like they completely ignored his pedigree from the first 2 movies.
Like, where's his stuff? Where's his track record?
This guy must have done it because...
Where's the track record?
Yeah.
You didn't look at his track record?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't see what he did with President Asher twice?
Yeah.
And thwarting, major global crises?
Like, the guy is, one of the most loyal characters I've ever come across in a movie.
Right.
And, and in this movie...
Totally down for his country.
Yeah.
Proving it, the course of 2 movies.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he's the bad guy who attempted to assassinate the president. Let's make a manhunt out of him.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
The plot kind of...
Somebody would have had his back.
The plot's kind of weak, but it was fine. I mean...
I guess you can get framed. Maybe in the heat of the moment, you're trying to assassinate, the leader of the free world. Maybe by default, people don't come to your aid. But it's a bit...
And... Like in all of them too, though, like London Has Fallen and Olympus Has Fallen, there's always been a mole.
Always.
It's always been an inside job.
Always.
So it's like, in a way, like the franchise...
It always will be.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too. I mean, the franchise is formulaic.
On that point.
I mean, even over the course of 3 directors, each movie had a separate director.
And they all had a mole.
But they all had a mole, and they all felt like it was pretty much the same movie. Through the course of all 3 movies.
Same premise.
No, we're not complaining, but we still enjoyed all the movies immensely.
My gripe with that this time, though, is the other 2 times you had arch enemies with a really articulated mentality and set of ideals who were strong in their convictions for why they're doing this, right? Attacking DC.
It was
trying to take out the White House. This one was a bit thin on that point. I mean, I can't give much away, but the Weasley mole, who ends up being the mole, as well as the arch enemy nemesis of the movie, it was really just came down to money this time.
Yeah, but
which was pretty trash.
But
that was
it did work though. It caused us all to gasp when we found out who the mole was.
Right, but just the lack of substance behind the enemy this time.
Yeah, it was weak.
Is I think what what detracted from the movie a little.
It did have a weaker enemy than the previous two movies.
Way weaker.
I mean, that's pretty much all you could really say about it.
I mean, other than that, though, yeah.
Other than that, it's a solid action movie. You know,
for sure.
You know what you're getting into when you walk into the theater,
Yeah.
and you know you're highly entertained.
Yeah.
I mean, which leads us to a BuzzFeed quiz. Since all the movies have dealt with presidents, we're gonna give Justin the "Which U.S. president are you?" from the BuzzFeed website. All right, here we go, Justin. So, choose a dog out of a German Shepherd, Golden Retriever, Terrier, Hound, Lab, King Charles Spaniel, Portuguese Water Dog, Poodle, or Sheepdog.
German Shepherd.
Going with the German Shepherd, okay.
I grew up with German utility dogs, Rottweiler Shepherds, and Pinschers, and
all right.
So I'm going to go with that.
Pick a cooking ingredient now. Salt, pepper, ketchup.
Pepper.
You want me to finish the question?
Sorry, go ahead.
Salt, pepper, ketchup, oregano, basil, thyme, mint, lemon, and cinnamon.
Pepper.
All right. Well, pepper. Then, this is what your teachers would describe you as: memorable, persistent, surprising, charming, honorable, leader, popular, quiet, or shy.
Leader.
Choose a type of weather: rainy, sunny, foggy, misty, windy, all out storm, breezy, lightning, calm.
Breezy.
Breezy, okay. I have no idea where they're going with any of these. But, all right, choose a type of vacation: vineyard, horseback riding, hiking, beach, cabin, camping, European, family, or golfing.
Vineyard.
Vineyard, all right.
Like Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard.
Been there a few times.
I hear it's beautiful there.
It's great.
Alrighty, choose a beverage: milk, iced tea, whiskey, old-fashioned, gin, water, tea, coffee, or beer. Beer.
You already knew that one.
Of course. Now choose a food item: crackers, eggs, tortilla chips, spinach, cheese, meat, potatoes, jelly beans, or peaches. Cheese, all right. Pick your favorite form of social media. As if presidents had social media back then. I don't know who wrote this. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Foursquare,
LinkedIn,
Pinterest, Tumblr, Reddit, none, or Vine.
Where's LinkedIn at?
LinkedIn's not on there.
I'm about to go with, I guess, Facebook.
Facebook? Okay.
Wastebook. Yeah. I'll go with Wastebook.
Then I think this is the final question. Choose an Olympic sport: archery, rowing, fencing, equestrian, rugby,
no-brainer,
biathlon, basketball, shooting, or the luge.
Well, I was gonna say no-brainer for archery, since I did archery when I was a kid.
Okay, so you're gonna go with archery?
But I also think shooting's a no-brainer.
So shooting?
But I'm gonna lean towards the more recreational of the two, which I consider more recreational, even though shooting is recreational.
Archery?
I'm gonna go archery.
Okay.
I'm gonna go archery.
We'll go with archery. Yeah. And who do you think you got?
I don't know. Obama? No, I don't know. Who did I get? Theodore Roosevelt?
I'll give you a clue.
FDR?
Give you a clue.
Grover Cleveland?
The 80s. Think 80s.
Reagan?
Reagan.
Oh my God. Okay, well.
Justin is Ronald Reagan.
I'm Reagan.
Based on those crazy quiz answers and questions.
I don't think that quiz correlates well on the questions, answers, or president sourced.
I have no idea.
I think that's a BS quiz. Yeah. So we'll give that quiz an F-.
I'm pretty sure Ronald Reagan was not on Facebook.
Yeah, that quiz has no relevance to anything about me, dude.
You weren't into Reaganomics?
No. Didn't help the average middle class person too much in the 80s. Didn't trickle down. Trickle down economics didn't really work. But no, everything I guessed, all those traits, that stuff I like. Yeah. I just don't know how those are correlated to Reagan and how Reagan was sourced from those.
I don't know. We gotta send BuzzFeed an email.
Never liked BuzzFeed. Never liked that. Never liked that entity. But that's all another story.
All right. So now it's time to grade the movie. Justin, what would you give it?
B+.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it was a solid
action movie.
Yeah, solid action movie. I wouldn't go see it again in the theaters.
No.
But I'd see it again.
Oh, that's one thing we should mention too. That we saw it like in a Dolby theater.
Oh yeah, it was with you have to see it.
Crazy good sound.
Yeah, don't go to like the standard 2D cookie cutter theater.
No.
You need to see this with like Atmos
and
speakers and Dolby laser projector.
That sound was ridiculous.
Yeah, laser projector. It's a new thing.
It was ridiculous.
If you haven't done it, you haven't done movies yet.
Yeah, but just the sound alone.
And crystal clear Dolby sound. If you haven't done it, you haven't done movies yet. Okay, so you know.
All right, well, that will do it for this episode of the Movie Grader and Friends podcast. The podcast will be dark next week and possibly the week after, but I will return with an episode as soon as I can. Please find me on Instagram and Twitter at The Movie Grader, and please visit my website, www.themoviegrader.com. Please find me on iTunes and review and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Also, please tell your friends about the podcast, and thank you so much for your support. The Movie Grader and Friends podcast is available on all major podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and basically anywhere you can get your podcasts. This has been the Movie Grader and Friends podcast. Thank you for your time. Feel free to email me at themoviegrader@gmail.com with any comments or suggestions, and see you guys very soon.
His name is